Details for the Brawl format have been announced and G Sports is up to his old tricks. Greetings, owners of fine luxury cardboard rectangles. Yesterday we touched briefly on Brawl. Well, all the details are out. Gavin, good old G Sports, has come out to squint at us and tell us about this new development, this new format here. So I had to read through the article about an hour ago, and yeah, I've been chuckling ever since. This is pretty funny. Honestly, first of all, let me say this. The Brawl format isn't inherently bad. There's nothing particularly awful about it. My issue is more with the way that they present these things, the way that these things are marketed. Also, I mean, I'm not going to try Brawl because it's not really my thing. But let's move into this here. All right, so I'm going to read part of the article for you here. We're always looking at our range of options, listening and trying to figure out what we can offer to all of you that our game is currently missing. We offer many different formats to play competitive constructed Magic, including Standard, Modern, and Legacy, just to name a few. They all include different ranges of Magic sets. If you're coming into Magic, you probably aren't starting with Legacy. You certainly could, but it makes a lot of sense to learn the ropes in something like Standard instead. These formats all encompass different periods of time, so people with varying collections have a way to play to use them. This is a fairly true statement. I don't really take issue with this part here. And it's not just about collections or experience either. Different players simply prefer different kinds of gameplay. That's true as well. I mean, I've been in the game for a long time, and what I prefer compared to other players will vary. Legacy, for example, has all kinds of crazy mechanics and interactions. Well, part of the problem is, and this is something they're not going to address in the article here, is the older you get into formats, because of things like the reserved list and the prices of cards that can never be reprinted, it does make some formats unplayable. Modern wouldn't be as popular as it is if the card, like basically what I should say is Legacy and Modern would be the same thing. There wouldn't even be a Legacy vintage group of card set if it wasn't for the reserved list and everything like that. So it gets a little disingenuous with this part of the article. Now, there's the line here. This is where it starts to get ridiculous to me. There are plenty of players who've been playing for years and years who prefer Standard, and that I do not agree with. He's saying Standard, on the other hand, has a small card pool. That means different things get to shine, and it's more like different things are forced to shine. It's presented in a way where it's like, look, Standard gives you more diversity, but really when it comes to Standard, especially with Constructed, it's really a matter of 5 to 10% of the cards getting love. So it's a far more narrow margin of cards, and I have an issue with that. Now, he's talking, all right, that's competitive Constructed. We have plenty of different formats there. Now, if we look at casual Constructed, there's not that same kind of variety. It's usually just almost everything is illegal. Go nuts. I wonder why that is. I wonder in 24, 25 years of people playing Magic casually, why most of the time they say, well, you can play with everything you own. Could that be because it's more fun and more enjoyable? It's being presented like nobody ever thought of this. Like, Commander is probably our largest casual format. Probably? It definitely is. You know it is. You make products specifically geared to it. It's hilarious how they're going to try and bring out Commander, and they're going to try and they're trying to distance this just a tiny bit from Commander, which is adorable because there's no way to do it when you see what the actual rule set is. It's so ridiculous. So what they're trying to say, what G Sports is trying to say, which is so funny to me, is that, you know, it's Commander is probably our largest casual format, and I love Commander. I want to assure you, Commander isn't going anywhere at all, but at the same time, it's a bit daunting to hop into. You can use the same cards that you would use for Brawl. You can use everything in your collection. It's not any more daunting than Brawl is. It's not like you're expected to know every card that's out there. It gets ridiculous. All your new cards have to compete against the weight of the past 25 years of crazy cards we've made. That's a funny way of saying, instead of saying the truth of, we're going to take away the fun of the past 25 years of crazy cards we've made. And there are all kinds of ridiculous combinations and abilities going on. Even if you've been playing Magic for years, maybe you just don't want to play in a format full of the many, many years of these cards. Said no Commander player ever. Oh, you know what I'd really like, guys? If we just didn't play with all these cards, if we could just limit ourselves, I feel like we need more diversity. What feels more diverse to you? This or this? What gives you more options? This or this? 10 to 1. Because when you go from standard, when you take the full card pool and you go down to just standard, you go down to like 10% of the cards. There's over 20,000 cards in Magic now. Probably closer to 25,000 unique Magic cards right now. And they're saying only play with the newest 2,000. Now, again, I don't have a problem with the format itself. It's the way that they're presented. They're trying to present the world in a way other than it is. They're trying to present this is something people have been clamoring for. Well, Commander is a very fan-driven format. Wizards of the Coast actually really can't control Commander. They can only offer suggestions and print stuff for it because they know in the end it's going to be tabletop to tabletop. Everybody's going to have their own tweaks, their own rule sets or whatever. Commander's not a massively competitive format. You specifically don't play that way. It's against the spirit of the game. Commander is a fun multiplayer format. The more options you have, the more enjoyable that's going to be. He's trying to pretend like somehow having this gigantic card pool leads to less options, and limiting that to a smaller card pool will give you a diverse, better set of options. That is generally the end concept trying to be given. And it says, what if you don't want to play with all these cards that way? What were you supposed to do? And then it's like, cue Garrett Turner. And here's the part where they try and make it seem like it's this big grassroots movement that created this format. Because again, they're trying to create this narrative where Commander somehow isn't the format of the people, where they change it to whatever they want. And that the people, they need this and they just hadn't figured it out. So Garrett Turner, who, if you don't know, here's an important part. He's the senior brand narrative designer, okay? The guy who does the packaging design, the guy who comes up with set names. Now, they're saying he built a variant format for his personal playgroup, and they had a blast with it. Then they brought it to Wizards. The team started to love it. Then they brought it to R&D, and they tested it, and they did all these things with it. Now they're trying to make it sound like, oh, look, it's this fan favorite thing. It was bought from outside of Wizards and whatever. It's like, look, you're trying to make it sound like some janitor came Goodwill Hunting style, and oh, look what we found on the blackboard on the side, when instead a guy who's part of your marketing team selling stuff, which is what you try and do. You guys are in the business of selling standard. So somebody who's in the business of helping you sell standard came along with a standard Commander variant. And now you're trying to play it off as if it's this grassroots thing. And they talk about how, okay, we tried it and we loved it too. This really did start as a grassroots effort within Wizards. Someone far outside of R&D. Do you see? Someone far outside of R&D. The wording that's being used. Gavin, G Sports here is intentionally trying to Goodwill Hunting you here. We want you to think it's a janitor doing this, not somebody who has a vested interest in the specific sales and marketing aspects of Magic. Give me a break. All right, so what comes along, it's something that had been missing. Was it? 25 years. Commander's been in the hands of the fans. They all play what they want. But yeah, it's been missing. Sure. So we spent a lot of time taking his original rule set, running play tests, making tweaks, and gathering data. And guys, you'll really see it. When we go through the rule set, you'll really see just how much they've changed it from the original Commander. You can see they've made massive sweeping changes that definitely back up the statement that says we spent a lot of time taking the original rule set, running play tests, making tweaks, and gathering data. Because I know when I read it, that's how I felt. I'm not being sarcastic. Eventually, we started running playtests across Wizards. Wow, across the whole company? And had some of the highest turnouts ever for among all optional company-wide playtests. Great, these numbers are meaningless. Did you have 8 people come out instead of 7? How many other, it's these broad generalities that are meaningless, just vague. Get hyped about this. We want it to feel special. It's certainly not us just trying to stop you playing regular Commander and shunt it. Play Brawl. Play Brawl. It's great. It's certainly not like a ruined Commander, a dumbed down, ruined Commander. So, what is it? The idea here was to make a casual format that used a standard card pool. Of course it was. That's always the idea. This meant the focus could be on new and different kinds of decks you could build. Oh my god. Oh my god. New and different kinds of decks you can build. This blows my fucking mind, guys. This is what they're saying. Okay? Let's pretend this gigantic stack of cards is all of Magic that exists, okay? This is all of the Magic cards that exist from all the different sets. And then the new standard pool comes along, and this is the new standard pool. You add it to this, and you get all this diversity. So you take this away, and this is all you get. Think about all the new and different kinds of decks you can build. You could still build them inside of this. It's not new, it's less. He's presenting you the option of less as better or more. It's different in a bad way. It's different in the same way that me only having one finger or two fingers would be different. It's not better. I'd have different options, yes. I would have to find different ways to open my peanut butter. That doesn't make life better. All right, so to continue onwards, the rules for Brawl are pretty straightforward. They sure are. It has a lot of similarities to formats. Oh God, I love this. Formats, plural. Oh, I would love to know what other formats. What are you going to say? Standard? Is that the other format that it's similar to? Oh, Jesus. This part four, the disingenuousness of it. Instead of just saying straight up, guys, we barely tweaked Commander. We got to make it sound like we spent a year developing this whole format through a grassroots movement. The short version is this. You build a 60-card standard legal deck around a legendary creature or planeswalker. Ooh, planeswalkers are italicized, guys, because that needs to be emphasized clearly. You can only have one copy of any given card in your deck other than basic lands. Your legendary creature or planeswalker starts in the command zone and works the same way that you might be used to from Commander. You can cast it for its mana cost, and then again for additional 2 mana each time. Each player starts with 30 life, and that's it. Does that sound like a new format? Or does it just sound like Commander playing with standard cards, minus 40 cards off the deck, and minus 10 life? Because that's all it is, with the most minor of tweaks otherwise. And this is, oh God, I love this. Here we go, let's continue. And G Sports has another great way to make it look like they put a lot of effort into this, okay? Here is the full rules overview. Sorry that I'm losing my ability to speak, but this is obnoxious. Let's take a look at the full rules overview of the format, courtesy of Rules Manager Eli Schifrin. It's just the Commander rules, guys. Courtesy of Eli Schifrin. Oh my God, he typed, thanks Eli. Eli, thanks for typing a paragraph. Thanks for changing the numbers in a few paragraphs, Eli. Each player's deck is exactly 60 cards. Other than basic lands, no card may appear in a deck more than once. Each card must be legal in the standard format. See, that way they don't even have to do any work with it. It's just standard, legal, whatever. Cards banned in the standard format can't be played in the Brawl variant. Before the game begins, each player designates a legendary creature or planeswalker. So there is one difference there. It allows you to use planeswalkers, which is something people are already doing in their own home play groups because, as I said before, Commander is entirely tweaked by the fans already. Unnecessary. Okay, the card begins the game in the command zone, and the other 59 cards are shuffled up. Surprise! Mana symbols that appear in your Commander dictate what cards may be in your deck, so it uses color identity, just like Commander. Exact same thing. Each player begins the game at 30 life rather than 20. If you're playing a multiplayer game, which we recommend for Brawl, really, you recommend it for Brawl? I wonder if that's because of all the formats you based it off our multiplayer. Oh yeah, you just based it off of one format. God damn, formats. Give me a fucking break. All right, as long as your Commander's in the command zone, you can cast it from there. Doing so costs an additional 2 mana for each time you cast it, just like Commander. If your Commander is countered or leaves the battlefield, you can put it into command zone. They literally called the Commander. Oh my God. All right, the Brawl variant has no other rules for playing, winning, or losing the game. Have fun. Good work, Eli. You are a cut and paste master, Eli. You and G Sports got this shit on lock. I'm glad you were able to take this grassroots fucking work and take years and hone and shape it all together. Now you're going to cover all the major issues with it. And since there's so many differences, let's see all the answers you have to give. First, why 60 cards? Standard only has so many cards in it. You don't say! Wow, it's kind of limited. Might that be an issue? And part of the fun here is building around themes. Oh, I see. Part of the fun is building around themes. You know what would be great? You know what would be awesome? Like, let's say you're building a dinosaur deck. I got a cool idea. You got your Brawl deck. You build your 60-card dinosaur deck. It'd be really dope if you could use, like, there was these dinosaurs they printed in earlier sets. Imagine if we use those too. Maybe what we should do is make like a format where you can play with 100 cards, and you could use some of these older cards too. So if you want to do like a theme thing, you go dinosaurs, and you could use all the cards that were printed, right? And so all these 50-cent rares that are kicking around from old sets could get some love. Just an idea. I don't think anybody's tried that though. You know, maybe I could come up with that. Come up with my own idea here on the spot. Give me a fucking break. It's like dinosaurs. You need a theme like dinosaurs or artifacts. It's important you have the room to actually build around them, though. If I asked you to make a 100-card pirate deck, you'd be stretched pretty thin for enough good options. So they're like, we need to make Commander Standard. We can't because we don't have enough cards. Make this format up. Come up with a big story. Make it grassroots. Spin that myth. Get to it, G Sports. We let you make your dumb esports two-headed giant set. Get on it, buddy. All right, so back to this. With 60 cards, you can build a much more focused deck. Yeah, get focused for that commander deck. You need to be focused. The singleton nature still makes every game feel quite different while offering consistency to your plan. Yeah, you like having every game feel quite different? Only use 2,000 of the 25,000 magic cards as your options. Limit yourself to 10% for the most variety in life. That's how I do it. That's fucking retarded. How about 30 life? We play tested a number of different life totals. I'm sure you did. 20, 30, and 40 were all considered. In the end, though, 30 created by far the best gameplay. The cushion to your normal 20 starting life was important, so the games didn't end too quickly, and you had time to fool around in the early game, getting out your pirates. Oh my god, it's just so bad. We didn't want running out of cards to be a typical factor in the game either, so 30 life helps ensure that doesn't occur. 40 life made you realize the games are so boring and long with the weak-ass standard cards we have that you just wail on each other until deck death happened. God damn. Another question you might have is why legendary Planeswalkers commanders? Well, for one, it's fun. Yeah, that's why people are already doing it. That's a good one. Like normal legendary creatures, Planeswalkers are major characters and often enjoyable to build around. We wanted to let them have a chance at being commanders too. Alright, well that part's okay. So, this whole thing is just many games of Brawls have gone on already within the halls of Wizards, and I'm really excited for you to all start building and playing the format. It's like, obviously, this is trotted out to pimp out the legendary concept that's coming out. Now, I have a real problem with this. This feels so fucking lazy to me that I can instantly come up with one right now. I'm gonna make one up right now called Punch Face, okay? I'm gonna go Punch Face. I'm gonna say you can only use modern legal cards in Punch Face. 80 card decks. I'm gonna say 36 life. So you start with 10% less life than regular commander. You start with 20% less cards. I feel like Punch Face has a lot to offer because what it does is it strips away the oldest cards, all the restricted list cards like Sol Rings and things like that. And because Sol Ring and those other old school powerful cards are very swingy, it makes more sense for them to exist in a 100-card deck, really. Because they're harder to get, they'll show up less frequently, and they'll be less swingy. But with those cards removed, you can have the 80-card decks, which still allow for a lot of variants, a lot of cards throughout the history of Magic. You've got yourself well over a decade and a half worth of cards to choose from. Plus, they're drawn from a time where R&D understood balance more. So you have less unbalanced, broken cards, have less problematic interactions as well. So honestly, Punch Face is the new and best commander variant, and I just invented that in like fucking 15 seconds, guys. So that's what this feels like. It feels like somebody just sat down and did what I did over in Brand Narrative, and then they spun up all this. That's what it feels like to me. So my feeling is I tossed that out to you guys. I found this pretty laughable. I read through it all. The attempt to spin this up into some big mythic, we created a format and here's how it was birthed, and because we know Commander is important, it needs to be casual. Understand it was grassroots. It was never meant just as a vehicle to push standard. But that's what it is. And a company needs to sell product. People love to fucking say that, clearly. But when you're going to trot this bullshit out here, people who pay attention and let the consumer know what's going on, like me, they're going to point it out and go, guys, pay attention. In the end, you're going to make your own decisions what variants to play. To me, Brawl seems fine as it's designed. I take no technical issue with the design of it. I think it's a watered-down, shittier version of Commander designed to get you to buy more standard, in all honesty. But if you want to play and you think you're going to have fun with it, by all means, I'm not here to stop you from enjoying yourself. When it comes to Magic, play whatever the hell you want. Anyways, thanks for coming by. G Sports is a joke. Don't forget to make your new Punch Face decks. Taking over with my new format. This means more than this, apparently. Bye.
Hype about that Caracas land. Always good times. Remember, everyone, together we are the sixth color of Magic.